Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to add maps within your Bubble application. Now, you might want to do this for various reasons. For example, you could be building a location-based marketplace like Airbnb or Uber, where you bring demand and supply together, where user location obviously plays a major role in the underlying logic of these types of apps. Or perhaps you're building a tracking app where you need to map or track either users or vehicles using GPS. Or you might be building a directory where you need to add markers on a map to show the location of the things within your directory. Or perhaps you're building an adventure app where you need to be able to view the world as satellite imagery or in 3D. Now, all of these use cases and many more are possible within Bubble using a plugin that we recently created called Nebulum Mapbox Maps. So before we begin, let's install the plugin. Simply go to your plugins tab here and then search for Nebulum Mapbox Maps, and you'll see it right here. Now, this is a premium plugin, but it's a plugin that took us hundreds of hours to develop, and therefore it's a small price to pay for this much mapping power within your Bubble application. Now, once the plugin is installed, you can simply drag it onto your canvas by searching for Mapbox Maps in the left sidebar here. Now, it's important to note that you need a free Mapbox account before the maps will even load within your Bubble application, but this takes 2 seconds to do, so let me just walk you through that now. So first, let's head over to Mapbox. I've provided a link to Mapbox below. And then once you're logged in to your console, you'll need to click on Tokens under Admin in the left side panel here. And then actually, you'll also just see the default token in the upper right corner here, so you could just copy that. But for now, let's just actually go to the Tokens page here. Now, once on our Tokens page, we can copy and paste this default token here, or we could create a new token by clicking on this button here. Now, if you create a token, the default settings are all you need to have selected to get started in terms of using the Mapbox API within your Bubble app. Now, if desired, though, you could restrict the use of this token only on certain domains. So, for example, only on the domain of your Bubble app. And then you could create the token by clicking on this button down here. Now, in my case, I'm just going to copy my default token here, and then I'm going to head back over into my Bubble app. From here now, what we need to do is we need to click on the Plugins tab in the left sidebar, and then we need to click again on this Nebulum Mapbox Maps plugin. Now, if we scroll down a bit here, you'll see a section where we can enter our Mapbox API key. Simply paste the token or API key that you previously copied and put it right in here. Now, that's it. You're done. That's all you need to do. Now, the map, if you go back into your front end, will now show up when your page loads. Now, Mapbox has a very generous free plan where you get 50,000 free map loads per month before you need to upgrade to a paid plan. Okay, so now our maps are loading on page load. So now we need to determine what we want our maps to do. So over on Nebulum, on our plugin demo page, we've created a gallery of a handful of popular map styles that you can browse through and play with. So for example, here, I'm showing the standard map with 3D buildings at different times of day. So for example, here are the maps for day, for dawn, for dusk, as well as for night. Now, keep in mind that these options for time of day only work if the map preset type is set to standard or standard satellite. In fact, if you're over on this demo page now, you should actually click on the button which says open in the editor, because this will allow you to see the exact settings and workflows for each map that we have on this page. As you can see here, we've also added maps for live tracking. So if you enable live tracking within the plugin, your browser will then prompt you to approve the tracking request. So in order to make this work, you need to allow the plugin to access your current location. So if for whatever reason you've set this permission to disallow, you can usually find a little button beside the address bar here where you can toggle the permission for geolocation on or off. Alternatively, you can generally find these settings as well in your browser security and privacy settings. So in order to give this Bubble Maps plugin permission to track a user's location, we need to click on the map and then look for these settings which say enable live tracking and follow user location. You can also select or deselect these options here for show compass or show zoom buttons, which show or hide these icons over in the front end right here. Or if we were to jump back into our backend again, we can also select or deselect this option here for show geolocation control. We can also set the geolocate icon position, as well as set this option to track user location. Now, back in the front end, this geolocate icon shows up right here. Also, keep in mind that if you're ever uncertain as to what an input field within the plugin controls, you can always click on this link here to show documentation. And this will ensure that you better understand what each field within the plugin is actually controlling. Okay, so as you've probably seen, once you've given the Mapbox map permission to track your live location, you'll see a small dot here on the map. You can also use the demo page to see live tracking using different views. The view you see right now isn't the only option. So for example, here we have a satellite view. Here we're showing a dark mode view. And here we're showing a light mode view. Also, keep in mind that all maps within our plugin are fully customizable. So for example, if you wanted to change the color of the tracking icon on this page, you could do that by simply changing the live tracking color right here in the backend. Next, you'll see we have this option for routes and directions. Now, this is a powerful feature within the plugin that allows you to visualize a route between a start and a stop point on a map. Now, not only that, but our plugin is calculating things like the distance between those 2 points in miles, meters, and kilometers. The plugin can also track the time duration between those 2 points, and it can do much, much more. Now, routes are handled under the routing section within the plugin right here. You'll see that we've placed our stop and end coordinates, set our profile to driving, as well as set our line color and line width. To calculate things like route distance or route duration, all you need to do is add a workflow. Now there's a sample workflow added to the demo page, which you can study by clicking on this group here, and then clicking on Edit Workflow. Now notice here I have an action created which allows me to calculate the route. Now you can search for this action by simply searching for calculate route here. And then once you add your coordinates to this particular map, the map states will now hold accurate information in terms of distance and time between these start and end points. Notice that's what I'm doing back over here when I'm drilling into these states values from these input fields right here. Okay, next up we have a map which shows markers on it. Now, one really powerful feature within this plugin is the ability to associate each marker with its own color or icon, as well as associate that marker with a unique ID. Now, the reason why this is powerful is because this allows you to map each marker to a unique item or row within your database. This allows you to create the logic which will show all of the database details from whatever marker is clicked. And best of all, you can show that data however you want. You could show it in a pop-up, on a new page, in another group, or in a sidebar on the existing page, and so on. So when working with markers, there are a few things that you need to know. So on the main map element, you can set your markers under the marker subheading right here. Notice here that we need to feed a comma-separated list of values in for the coordinates. We also need to do the same for labels and IDs and so on. Here, I'm just adding static data so that you can see how the data needs to be formatted. But in most cases, you're going to be searching for these coordinates in your database, and the result will be the same. You'll have a comma-separated list of values. Also, notice each marker can have its own color or icon, which you can also set here. Next, we have the location search map. Now, this map has a location search field on it, and this allows us to search for any place on Earth. Now, in the plugin properties page, this search bar's visibility and settings are controlled under the search subheading right here. Now, notice we can toggle this search bar on or off by simply selecting or deselecting this button here. Also, as a side note, notice these icons here, which allow us to show the zoom controls, the user's bearing or orientation, full screen mode, as well as the geolocate button. Now, it's possible to add or remove any of these icons to any map within our plugin. All you need to do is activate or deactivate them from within the plugin's property panel right here. Now, next, let's look at this 3D terrain map. Now, notice here we can zoom in, zoom out, and move around this location in 3D. Now, this map shows 3D terrain because this option to enable 3D terrain is selected within our plugin. Notice that in this case, we have our map preset set to standard satellite as well. Now, with these options selected, we can now go back into our front end and then click and hold our right mouse button to view this terrain in 3D. Now, there's also a setting within the plugin which allows you to set the initial pitch on page load. Now, the pitch is the angle at which the page loads. So if, for example, we set this value to 0, then the user will be presented with a top-down view of the map. But if we set this value to, for example, a value like 60, the map would then load on an angle. So we could see the 3D geometry without having to click or change our pitch. Also, keep in mind that anytime a user clicks on a map location, you can find the latitude as well as longitude coordinates of where the user clicked. Now, I'm showing you how to do this here within this 3D map, but this logic works on all maps within our Bubble Maps plugin. Simply drill into the maps clicked lat or clicked long right here. And then lastly here we have satellite maps. Now there are 3 satellite map presets within our plugin. There is the standard satellite, and the satellite streets. Now whenever any of these are selected, you'll see a satellite map show up in your front end right here. So I'm going to stop there for now. That's a lot to take in for one sitting. In this tutorial, my main goal was to get the Mapbox plugin working within your Bubble application and also give you a really zoomed out perspective of what's possible within this Bubble mapping plugin. However, we still have a lot to cover. We still need to talk about things like Bubble's built-in geolocation features, location searching, and much more. But these will be topics that I'm going to cover over the course of the next tutorials within this Bubble mapping series, which again, I've linked to below. And also remember, if you want to get access to the plugin that we were working with in this tutorial, a link to the plugin demo page can also be found below. And lastly, if you find all of this interesting, but you're not a do-it-yourselfer and you'd like to work with a team that can build out complex mapping applications for you, be sure to head over to Nebulum and then click on Contact in the top navigation bar. Simply fill out the form on that page and let us know more about the mapping application that you're trying to build. Even if you're just pressure testing an idea, we'd be more than happy to chat with you about it. So that's all I have for you. Thanks for stopping by today. And remember, a link to the next tutorial in the series can be found below.